2:37 on Wall Street. This is the Bloomberg Countdown. We continue this week's Out in America series where we speak with small businesses across the country that have been hit by the credit crisis. Michael Downey is the owner of Cypress Construction Services in Santa Cruz, California. He says his construction company went from grossing $1 million a year to nothing last year. And has he been able to get a bank loan to keep his business afloat? We bring in Michael Downey for more answers. And Michael, good afternoon. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Karen and Sal.
Michael, why don't you start off telling us a little bit about your business? Give us an overview.
Well, we're a general building contractor here in Santa Cruz. We do residential and commercial remodel and improvement. About half our business is with multi-unit residential communities or HOAs, and half of the work we do is with individual homeowners and businesses.
And how has this credit freeze affected you now?
Well, in a couple of ways, Sal. Certainly we've seen a decreased amount of incoming work and a decreased amount of available credit to us. We last year, you'll recall it was late August that this whole credit crunch started, and around September 1st the phone just stopped ringing. We were having a good year up until that point, and things just hit a dead stop.
So have you gone seeking any loans or anything?
Well, at that time, yeah, our first line of defense was to seek a bank loan, and the impression I got from them was the type of business, being a building contractor in California, they lumped that into the whole housing slump. And even though we had a more diversified approach to our business, that didn't work out for us. So my second option was to go to what they call receivable loans, the companies that lend to business owners and get repayment based on credit card receipts. And again, we kind of hit a dead end there because the way they operate is typically with restaurants, retail outlets where there's a steady flow of income through credit cards, whereas our credit card receipts can go from $2,000 to $20,000 month to month.
So not only has your supply of financing been pinched off, is this being compounded because your potential customers can't get credit and demand for your services is down?
That's been a big problem. What I noticed in that fourth quarter last year was that the whole middle section of our customer base, it all came to a screeching halt. The people that get equity lines of credit for their remodels, the $50,000 kitchen remodels that we were used to doing just dried up completely. We were still getting calls for repairs and the small cash-based type work we were doing. And we were also getting calls for these, like I mentioned, the homeowner communities where there's pooled resources. Those were still coming in. So that whole middle section just dried up for us.
We are speaking with Michael Downey, the owner of Cypress Construction Services in Santa Cruz, California. It's coming up on 2:40 on Wall Street. A quick data check from the Bloomberg. Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 517 points, or 5.5% at 87.94. S&P 500 down 67 points, or 6.7% at 931. And the Nasdaq's down 100 points, or 5.7% at 1678.
Price on the 10-year Treasury up 24.30 seconds. The yield 3.99%, according to BG Counter Market data. COMEX gold futures settled at $839, down about 0.1%, down 50 cents an ounce. And at the close of floor trading at the New York Mercantile Exchange, November crude oil futures were down $4.13, a decline of 5.3% to $74.50. Our guest is Michael Downey, owner of Cypress Construction Services in Santa Cruz, California. We're talking about how the credit freeze has affected his business, both in terms of his getting access to money and his customers. And before we did the data check, Michael, there was one thing that you were talking about your customers. Have any of your customers been caught without funding mid-project, let's say? And have you been affected by things like that?
We have, and what we've tried to do when we get into that situation, either before the project or midstream, is to work with the customer to try to prioritize what needs done now, what can be deferred until later. We've been doing a lot of that and working with customers, accepting credit cards, trying to extend 2 to 3 months credit to customers. if they need it. We've even gone so far as to offer a kind of a coaching scenario for the more adventurous of our customers that want to try some do-it-yourself projects, but maybe need a little help getting started and that sort of thing.
It's interesting because you would think with the slowdown in the market, you would see more people trying to upgrade their kitchens and do things in their own houses, as you said. But I guess as the credit crisis continues to deepen, people are even cutting back on that as well.
Well, in Santa Cruz, we went from a median home price of about $850,000 to now I think it's about $600,000. So in that heyday, every dollar they were spending on a remodel with us, they were getting back $2 in increased property value. That now has decreased, and people are just, I think, in hunker down mode with these kinds of projects.
And I only make that point because if you can't upgrade your home, then maybe you want to sink your money instead, or what little money you may have, into upgrading your own home.
Exactly. But like I say, typically the kinds of work we're seeing are the kinds of things that customers are able to just pay cash for.
I'm wondering also, we saw that run-up in commodity prices over the summer months. How has that, aside from the credit freeze, I mean, lumber, copper for wiring, for tubing, it all went up. How's that hitting you?
That's the tough part, because our materials prices continue to rise, particularly in lumber. And yet we as contractors, and competing with handymen and a lot of new construction people, we here on the ground aren't able to commensurately raise our prices. The competition is increased here down on the ground, whereas within our suppliers, those prices have gone up. So it's been tough here.
Well, this talk about rising commodity prices, this talk about a slowing credit situation, but 2008 was the best year in your 14-year history, so you're doing something right.
Well, fourth quarter of 2007, I had a lot of time to step back, take a look, and kind of restructure the business. I looked at what's working, what's not working, put more effort into the things that are, like joining trade organizations with these homeowner communities, getting green builder certified, for example, and really poured on efforts to market to those groups, and not worried about the kitchen remodels and the fences and the decks and the sort of things that we weren't getting a return for. So I'm happy to say that at this point, yes, we are poised to have our best year yet.
About 40 seconds left here, Michael. How has this affected your staffing? Have you been able to keep all of your workers going?
Well, at our peak this year, we were up to 14 employees, and I've cut back a little, which is typical as we go into the winter. But I'm running 11 full-time guys now. Part of what I had to do last year was, unfortunately, was to sit down with them and cut benefits in an effort to keep working and to remain competitive. So we sat down and we talked about that. I do my best to offer one-time bonuses when the money is available, but we've all had to tighten our belts.
Michael Downey, owner of Cypress Construction Services in Santa Cruz, California. Thanks for being here. Next up, confidence in the global economy is plunging, and we'll talk about the latest in a Bloomberg survey coming up. This is the Bloomberg Countdown.